Welcome to our lesson on WH questions. These essential tools help gather information and communicate effectively in English. In this lesson, we'll explore how to use the WH words who, what, where, when, why, and how to ask great questions. The WH questions we need to reach these objectives. We want that at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to understand the purpose and functions of WH questions in English communication. To correctly form questions using WH words like who, what, where, when, why, and how. And then you should be able to construct and use WH questions in everyday conversation with improved fluency. Now, let's introduce the WH word. Who is used to ask about people, as in who is your teacher, who is your mom. What, ask about things or actions. For example, what do you like to eat? What do you like to drink in Ouagadougou? Where is used for places such as Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Where do you live? I live in Rimketa, or I live in Padua or Zogona. And when, ask about time, like when is your birthday? When is our class time? Next, we have why, which is used to ask about reasons like why are you studying English? Why are you studying computer science? Why are you at the University Joseph Kizerbo? Why are you at IFOAD? And how, which asks about the manner or process, such as how do you go to school? How do you go to school? How do you program a web app? Now, take a moment to think about your own examples for each of these WH words. Try to think about examples where you use who, what, when, why, how. Now it's practice time. Watch this video about WH word from ESL library. Try to take note and reinforce your understanding of WH words.
ESL Library. WH questions. What are the most common types of questions in English? There are two common types of questions in English: WH questions and yes/no questions. For example, what is your favorite animal is a WH question, and do you like snakes is a yes/no question. What are WH questions in English? We use WH words to ask about different types of information. We use who to ask about a person, what to ask about a thing, where to ask about a place, when to ask about time, why to ask about a reason, and how to ask about manner. The answers to WH questions provide the information that we ask about. For example, what are you doing? I'm studying. When does this class start? It starts at 9 a.m. There are two common question patterns for the simple present tense in English. One common pattern is WH word plus do plus subject plus verb. An example of this question pattern is, where do you live? Note that we use does when the subject is he, she, it, or a singular noun. For example, where do I live? Where does he live? Where does she live? Where does it live? Where do we live? Where do they live? Where does your sister live? Where do your sisters live? Another common question pattern is WH word plus be plus subject. An example of this question pattern is, how are you? Note that be changes forms with different subjects. For example, how am I? How is he? How is she? How is it? How are we? How are they? How is your brother? How are your brothers? Let's look at some more examples of WH questions in English. Who do you want to invite to your party? What is her favorite movie? Where are they from? When does your roommate wake up? Why does he like rainy days? How do the students get to school? Look at the WH word list. Say or write the word that matches the type of question. For example, we use how to ask about manner. Now you try. We use when to ask about time. We use who to ask about a person. We use why to ask about a reason. We use where to ask about a place. We use what to ask about a thing. Thanks for watching.
Now, we are using these WH words, but maybe some of you might not know how the questions are formed. Let's break down how to form a WH questions. Let's start with the appropriate WH word for your questions. Then add the auxiliary verbs such as do, does, is, or are. Then include the subject, which is a person or thing you are asking about. Follow with the main verbs describing the actions or state and finish with a questions. For example, how do you go to school? Or how does Ali go to school? How do you come to Ifowad? So, how is your mom? Thank you. Now that we have learned about the WH questions and use some examples and watch a short video about their usage, it's time to practice. Fill in the blanks with the correct WH word. For example, who is your best friend? Or when do you usually come to school? Or practice forming these questions to improve your fluency and confidence. Who is your best friend? Who? And then, when do you usually meet her? Where do you like to go together? To recap, we have covered the different WH question words, at least those that we use daily: who, what, where, when, why, and how. We also practice forming proper WH questions using the correct structure. For homework, write 5 questions using different WH words about your favorite topic. This will help you solidify your understanding and application of WH question in everyday conversations. If you still have any other question, reach out to me. I'm always here for support.